Let's see. Let's see what this guy's got to say about rarity.
OperatorOtter here, and today we're going to discuss rarity and the entire thing that's going on with this, because what's going on in the community right now is that the top percent players, the absolute elitists, are getting 4 to 6 div orbs every single breach they run, and they are attributing it to rarity and the fact that it has such a massive effect on their drop rates, when there has been a rather controversial piece of information that has been dropped a few hours ago where someone actually tested rarity in these T15 maps, and they got some results that are rather
with 20 maps
abrasive to what the entire community watching one of my YouTube videos, because I was a Diablo 4 content creator. This is my first Path of Exile 2 video. One of the things that we love to do is to go in and break a lot of math and go into the Excel charts. So if this is something that you're in tune to and you like seeing stuff like that, this is what I'm going to provide for you to kind of show what the actual reason, or not the actual reason, but more so I should say the more relevant reason why elitist players are actually getting just so many more drops per breach.
Why she keep saying elitist? I don't get it.
Breach than the average player. So the first thing that I would like to do is provide an audience with,
just say more like hardcore, I guess,
a thesis statement on the argument that I am trying to make within this video.
He's got a thesis.
That I believe that the
PhD in the house.
Path of Exile 2 does have a much higher expectation in terms of the quality for the videos that are being presented to them, and I want to be able to provide that for you. So the first thesis statement is the ability to clear is much more influential to the rate of drops than rarity. And the second thesis is investing in clear speed is much more beneficial than rarity for 90% of players. And many of the points in the arguments that...
Well, what people are doing at the tippity top is both at once. They clear fast, and they have like 400 MF.
I'm going to be making throughout this video are going to tie directly to these two thesis statements. So now let's discuss this Reddit post that has actually been causing some waves within the Path of Exile community. This is by Mirror21 on the Path of Exile 2 subreddit. And what they did was they tested 80 T15 white maps with 4 different sets of gear, being 0, 100, 200, and 300 increased rarity, with 20 for each set. Now, the first problem here is that they only tested it with 20 rather than 30. And the reason that's important is that in the world statistics, there's something known as the central limit theorem, where in order to grab a 95% confidence interval within your standard deviations, you actually need to test something 30 times. And it's not a big deal. We can still draw some rather strong theses from what the data that this gentleman got. But regardless, that's just
conclusions,
something.
You mean?
The second thing that I think is the kind of bigger one here is they did not test how rarity with maps is also influencing rarity on gear. They just tested rarity on gear, and I have been told, I don't know for sure because I never played the original Path of Exile, but I was told that in Path of Exile 1, rarity on your gear and rarity on the waystones actually multiplied across each other to...
I was told. Interesting.
Create a compounding effect. Well, because they're not increasing the actual waystone drop chance, this could push or pull exactly what rarity is doing. But it is showing what's happening with rarity in the gear, and regardless of the findings that we're finding, even if that compound effect was in effect, I don't think it would actually do much. So let's talk about the results. So if we see here are all the currencies and the rares and the uniques and everything that they found. And really the only substantial change in anything was going from 26 to 126 for the exalted orbs. That was kind of it. Everything else is a very small, minuscule change, or not even a change, or that the actual chance for it to drop is so low that the increased rarity actually doesn't make sense over 20 maps, which is why we need 30. But regardless, we would see some type of substantial change if rarity was really actually doing as much as we think it is at 300% rarity. We would definitely see some type of substantial change, but we're not. We're not seeing anything that's substantially changing other than the exalted orbs. They're going from 12 to 24. And that actually explains a lot of what's going on within the inflation of the exalted orbs in the currency market. Because if you are doubling the amount of exalted orbs that are being put into the market, but the amount of divine orbs or the rate that you're getting is the same, then what's going to happen is that the divine orbs are going to stay where they're at, and the cost of the conversion is going to double, right? If divine orbs are being found at a same rate as the exalted orbs are being found when they're increased by rarity, then the conversion rate would stay the same. But that's not what's happening. And this is kind of proven because before this whole rarity thing went down, the conversion rate for exalted orbs and divine orbs was about 65 to 70. And now, after all this rarity talk, you go look on the market, I believe that looked like 10 minutes ago.
Pro tip. Go for chaos orbs.
More in terms of the conversion rate for exalted orbs for any type of good. And that explains why. What this doesn't explain is, okay, then why are the top elitist players able to pull 4 to 6 div orbs per breach that they do? Because if rarity isn't having nearly the effect that we thought, it's
The top elitist players.
does have an effect, but not nearly the effect that we thought, then what really is the reason why the elitist players are able to pull so much currency per breach clear that they do? And I believe more so that this has to do with their clear speed. I think it has much more of an effect on that. So let's talk a little bit mathematically about what's going on with breach and the clear speed and how the argument kind of supports what's going on with that. So when it comes to the breach, the first thing that I would like to discuss is kind of how the breach is actually functioning under a mechanical point of view. And this is what I've gotten from observation. I don't have any like proofs here. And the bigger the area is becoming, the more
it depends on map too,
eventually
bro.
what happens is like, yeah, we're actually going to be able to kill 9 times as many monsters,
A
but
breach
that's not necessarily what's going on. So let's look at how people
is
are
not
playing
the same as a breach
and that
on
will also
like
tie into some of the
Forge
questions that we have.
or whatever.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to veer into this Picasso level of art that I have drawn in PowerPoint. And the first thing I want to talk about is this little key.
You
the
take
purple
that
is the breach
into
area,
account?
and the blue is the slain enemies. These are telling us the diameters of the breach. So half of that is going to be 200.
Oh, that looks like a
suit right here, and then half of 1200.
That looks like a Hearthstone
suit right here.
Look at that.
And what I want to talk about is the strategy that most players are using for you then to be mobile to move to the next spot.
Yeah, he's
so you're
not
kind of just
talking
moving
about
in a nice
right
spiral
now.
pattern. But as you do that, which has a very small effect from the findings that we saw, or
There we go.
doubling how fast you're clearing, which will literally double how many drops that you're getting, clear speed is absolutely going to be the most important factor, and that's kind of the argument that we're trying to create here. So just pushing a little bit further, this is kind of like my personal rank for like what actually manipulates drops within the game of Path of Exile 2, like Forge, Augury, Admire, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, your map selection has a very big influence on how many drops you're going to get with them. So that's where I would go, right? Like being able to kill stuff and kill more stuff is definitely going to have a larger effect on how many things drop than affecting rarity. And that's really the thesis point of this argument. So that's all I have for you, ladies and gents. I hope you enjoyed this video. You know, more to come in the future.
All right.
I wish you...
I think everything's pretty much valid, solid. I don't know why she keep calling people elitist, but really, the conclusion is go for both if you're really trying to sweat